Are you ready to embark on a journey of success? To discover your true potential in the untold stories of careers in life sciences? Welcome to PATHFINDER by the Purdue Institute of Inflammation, Immunology and Infectious Disease. With your host, Tommy Soares, discover the untold stories of industry scientists and unveil the secrets to excelling in your career. Thank you for joining us once again, and remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Welcome, everybody. My name is Tommy Soares. I'm the Director of Scientific Strategy and Relations for the Purdue Institute of Inflammation, Immunology and Infectious Disease. And today on Pathfinder, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. April Agee Carroll, the Pipeline Analytics and Digital Strategy Lead for Bayer's Global Breeding Trade and Pipeline Delivery Organization. April is at the forefront of Bayer's precision breeding platform, where she merges genomic, phenotypic, and environmental data with advanced breeding methodologies and artificial intelligence. Her mission is to develop the next generation of high-performing, sustainable agricultural products that meet the evolving needs of farmers worldwide. With a diverse career spanning academia, big agriculture, and startups, April consistently push the boundaries of agriculture innovation, from leading biotech discovery research at Corteva to establishing state-of-the-art phenotypic facilities at Purdue University. She has left an indelible mark on the field. April actively collaborates with various scientific organizations. Her dedication to excellence has been recognized with numerous accolades, including induction into Bayer's Science Fellow and recognition as a distinguished woman in data science. Join us as we explore her journey and insights into the future of farming. Welcome, April. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, Tommy, thank you. It is such a pleasure to be back with you at Purdue. It's great to see you.
So good to see you too. I've been really waiting to ask you to come be part of the program because I so wanted to catch up with you and your career. I know it's taken off so fast and so wonderfully, and I just wanted you to be able to share how you've done it, what you've done, what are some of the elements of your success, and perhaps to give people a little glimpse of, what does it take to get up there and, lead a whole field and be at the helm of this new data science evolution, revolution, AI. And I was always so impressed by your work at Purdue with this automated phenotyping facility. I thought it was always so cool. And I just wanted you to be able to share your story with us here today.
Oh, Tommy. Well, it's such a pleasure. Like I said, I mean, you are near and dear to my heart, and so is Purdue. And really, I owe so much to my experience there and the colleagues and the relationships that I built that really have been lifelong and long lasting. So I have to say, though, after reading that introduction and hearing all of that, it does sounds like another person. And to ask, how did you get to the forefront and how are you a leader? And I'm just me, and I am just putting one foot in front of the last foot, and something that I think of a lot is actually from a children's movie, which there's a lot of wisdom in fairy tales, we know. In Frozen 2, so I have an 11-year-old, I'm kind of dating myself here. In Frozen 2, there's this idea of just doing the next right thing. So these Disney princesses and the real life princesses, we don't have any more answers than anybody else does. We have the same education background. We have a lot of the same experience. And I think anybody that you talk to will tell you, just like yourself, that we're just making decisions day by day and trying to do the right thing. So that's really been my guiding principle. And as I've gotten older and gotten further along, I've looked up to people in the field, and I still do. I think there are still people that have amazing foresight and tremendous backgrounds, but it really is just going for it and identifying areas that need problem solving. And so that's been kind of the key to my success. And, even saying that, the key to my success, I think, as many women in the industry, in all industries, we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome. And I think that, if you aren't doubting, your options that are in front of you, then something might be wrong if it's so clear and so confident. So I think it's okay to let yourself have some of that self-doubt and some of the questioning about the path in front of you. But really that's been kind of my guiding mantra, is just to do the best I can with the information that I have, make decisions quickly, be okay with failing, even celebrate failure. On my team in Bayer and historically, if we want to explore an idea, let's go for it, but we're going to try to make it fail. And if we can't make it fail, then that's a winner. So
Yeah.
just poke at it until there's no more holes, and fail fast, and then you'll float and win. So, you
April,
know,
but it's almost like Frozen 1 should have come after Frozen 2,
right?
with like step by step, and then let it go if it goes wrong, or if you think
Yeah,
you have failed or something, right?
that's so
So
right.
I love that. I really like that analogy. And I have a daughter too, so I can't shy away from the fact that we've grown up with Frozen and in our house as well, and so many great stories like that. But so, like, can you take us back, and do you remember when you were in your childhood days, or
Yeah.
what was it that like got you into science, or what was it that got you into, I know you did a lot of plant work at the beginning, molecular
Mm-hmm.
work and so on, but like
Yeah.
what inspired to go down that route?
Yeah. Well, Tommy, I mean, I had no idea what I want to be when I grow up. I still don't know. And I am figuring it out by kind of, like I said, fail fast. So trying a lot of things and finding, when I coach and mentor, particularly people earlier in their career, you're not going to know the answers ahead of time. You're not going to know what that magic path is. And so there's a book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, with a lot of insight for women, but also for men in the field, of just not being afraid to just try things, and maybe make a lateral move and say, you know what, I actually didn't like that. And so when I talk about that career development with other people, and I'll admit I'm not always the best at following my own advice, but I keep a running list of things that I know I don't like. So I
Ooh.
know that I don't like leading big teams of operations. I like leading small teams of really specialized people. And earlier in my career, I was kind of being groomed and guided toward something that I was good at, which is leading people. But it kind of drains my energy to have a team of 150 people that I'm responsible for, when I can have a team of 20 that are maybe really highly skilled. And that's really kind of how I ended up in data. So things like, I really like developing top talent. I really like having freedom to ideate. Now, other people, it's not kind of universal things, where some people really like to have a to-do list and a routine, and recognizing kind of those strengths and those dislikes in yourself. So I really don't like bench science. And unfortunately, I spent 12 years in college, getting an advanced degree in molecular biology, and I was good at it, good enough, but it really comes down to the things that maybe you're good at it, but it was something that your parents suggested that you do, or that they pushed you towards medical school, or towards, you know, data analytics, or whatever that might be, or you pushed yourself because you thought
Yeah.
that was the right thing at the time. But don't be self-aware. And so I keep this running list, and I actually have it up here right now, of just so I could kind of refer back to it. But I also learned over time that I don't like basic science. Now, again, as someone who invested, um, I'm going to say half my life. If we say 12 years, that makes me 24. But a significant portion of my life in this kind of focused molecular biology, and I was always trying to kind of chase this discovery scientist persona that I thought I wanted to be. I wanted to be that unicorn that was, prancing through the forest and, making rainbows and glitter and sparkles and discovering and having that big aha moment, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
of, a eureka, I found it, I'm going to get the
Yeah.
Nobel Prize. And that's the feeling that I'm chasing. And every time I discovered something, it was like, okay, cool, I did it. But then there's all these other problems out here that I need to go solve. And it turned out that, again, after a lot of therapy and counseling with good friends like you, I remember having a conversation with you 10 years ago about this, of just reconciling this journey of my own strengths and my own interests, and being okay with kind of discarding a lot of training that actually was totally relevant to data science and totally applicable, even though I'm not extracting DNA or RNA anymore. It's just all about that trainability and that learning. So the more things that you can experience, the more breadth, the easier it's going to be for you to find the things that you don't like. Don't focus on the things that you do like. Those will kind of float over time. But if you can say, I don't like too many details. And I know you know this about me. I like that high level, that strategy. And as soon as somebody says, well, okay, that's a great idea, but how are we going to get it done? And my eyes glaze over and like, boy, I sure hope we can find somebody that's good at that, because it's not me. So that's really been my guiding principles, and what's worked well, I think, for other people that I've mentored through their career. So what that aha moment was for me, in the realizing that basic science, which was a tremendous blow. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was my whole life. This is what I've dedicated everything to. But I found out during grad school, and I can maybe tell a story about this that I think you know. I was trying to clone two genes that had in plants that had microscope phenotypes. So they had issues with protein trafficking in the cell, and I was working for this really great advisor, Natasha Reichel, who's now retired, but I mean has this tremendous legacy and career awards with the National Academy and everything. And so I'm following this woman through the gates of hell. She knows what's up, and
Yes.
she did, and she did, and she's still great. But I was chasing that discovery of, I've got to find these genes that are moving proteins from the ER to the Golgi to the vacuole to be secreted outside the cell, because that's what's important. And what I ended up doing was, kind of, laziness is the mother of invention, sometimes I've heard people say, to be able to, at the time, clone a gene in a plant that had a microscope phenotype. You had to do hundreds of back crosses, and you had to generate populations of thousands of plants to be able to identify these genes. And so after the initial screening to identify this forward breeding mutant approach with this microscope, and my eyes were buggy and I was sitting in the dark all day looking into a microscope, I said, Natasha, like, this is killing me. I can't do this. Now that we've got these mutants, now I've got to do 50,000 more of these. Forget it. And she said, oh, well, I just got a grant for a microscope that's automated. Do you want to try to, do you want to try to make it work? And I was like, yeah, sure, bring it on. So my first relationship with an engineer, which, by the way, I married one and he's fantastic. But my first relationship with an engineer was, I have this problem. I've got this microscope now. I want to look at plant roots, or I want to look at plant leaves, but it's designed for cell culture in a tiny, tiny little focus window. And the plant is this tall, and the microscope is designed to look just in this little layer. And the engineer said, well, your working distance, you've got to either get a lens with a big depth, which isn't physically possible. He said, why don't you just turn the plants on their sides? I said, well, you can't do that. And he said, okay. well, let's think of other ideas. And then I started thinking about it, and I said, wait a minute, how would we turn the plants on their sides? And then we started, and we spent about 6 months developing this system. And the two genes that I cloned, Tommy, they still don't know the molecular function. They've got some cool phenotypes, but that innovation with that engineer sitting at the taco stand at UC Riverside over lunch ended up being a book chapter and a couple publications. And then all these researchers at UC Riverside at the Center for Plant Cell Biology used that microscope system to discover drugs that trafficked proteins through the endomembrane system that regulated leaf polarity. They discovered mutants, they discovered chemicals, and all of these things that I care way more about building that system that enabled all these other scientists to go do this great work than these two genes that I spent all my time on the system and on the data processing and on the pipeline and all these things. And even then I didn't recognize that that was my calling, was to enable other scientists to do great work. And once I figured that out, that I could help those unicorns go prance through the forest and make glitter and rainbows. I'm not a unicorn. I'm a rhinoceros with a big old horn and chubby legs and thick skin. And I'm going to go through and knock the trees down so it's easier for the unicorns to prance through. And by God, we're going to be a great team. So
I love
that
it.
is my calling. But it
That's
took me
awesome.
25 years to find that, Tommy. And when you and I last talked about this, I didn't know I was a rhino yet. I was still trying to be a unicorn.
That is
But
so awesome. And it's so cool to be updated like that, and bring me up to date, because it's so incredible to see the transformation. Whether you want to call it maturity, whether you want to call it like, oh, some epiphany or something that you saw in yourself. But I think from what I'm hearing is that it took a lot of self-reflection, not only to I mean, you said, okay, don't worry so much about the things that you like, but worry and focus more on what you don't like, and say no to that. Say no to the things that are going to eat up your time, from doing the things that you really want to do. But it takes self-inspection. It takes a minute to stop and figure out, oh gosh, I really don't like that. I get, some kind of heartache if I do that type of work.
yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure you have the same experiences, and especially if it's something that you're good at.
Yeah.
Y- there's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of, kind of techniques, and one I like metaphors, obviously, but one that I really like is thinking about things that fill your personal energy bucket, right? So it doesn't have to be mumbo jumbo or psychobabble or any of that stuff, but we all have a limited amount of energy that we can apply to our families, to our self care, to our careers, and to our day to day work. And we've got to balance those things. And again, not perfect, still go, I still am in therapy twice a week and we talk about these things daily. So again, just to say I am not perfect. I am constantly working on myself and I need a lot of help to do it. So, I think that's also a life lesson that, the sooner that you realize that you need a lot of support and you go and get it, that's really key to me
Yeah.
to, self-care. So anyway, with that though, if you think about your energy bucket as do things that make you feel satisfied, maybe not happy, because happiness is sporadic, and there's a lot of, ups and downs with true like joy
Mm.
and pleasure and, these wonderful magical experiences. But if, again, I'm a kind of a Disney girl, you can tell. if
Yes.
if when I lived in Southern California and I had a Disneyland annual pass, I got bored with it. I now go to Disneyland or Disney World 3 or 4 times a year, and it's magic and I love it and I'm excited and I can't wait
Yeah.
until my next trip. So, but you can't do it all the time. So, shooting for satisfaction and maybe not stability, but just knowing kind of when you're overdoing it. So, do things that kind of fill that bucket. For me, interactions with people fill my bucket. Talking with old friends and having an opportunity to mentor top talent and working with people, it fills my bucket. But I also have responsibilities, right? So I can do this every now and again. I can go and mentor people within Bayer, which I do. And I started in this kind of example of mentoring and coaching. Um, I found that in industry, we call it recovering academics. So people who have advanced degrees, who have worked in academia, like you, like myself, and like this group of a large group of people that have either had professorships or have worked in, public sector research. I'm mentoring a woman that worked at the USDA for 10 years. And I say mentoring, like it's definitely peer mentoring. Um, and so all these people were coming in and I was mentoring them one on one, and I ended up with about a half a dozen. And I like to meet with people once a month to keep these relationships active. But that means now I've got 1 or 2 meetings a week with these folks that is giving me incredible satisfaction and filling my bucket. But it was starting to take away. I was having a hard time rescheduling these meetings, and I was traveling a lot and I wasn't able to dedicate the time. And then I was feeling kind of guilty about not dedicating the time. And I had to step back and say, okay, you guys all have careers and all are experienced. Let's make a group and let's have some peer mentoring. And if you need me, we'll meet every other month or every 2 or 3 months. Or if you need me for something that you need to just talk through, then we'll meet one on one. And I get a message on Teams and like, hey, can you talk? And then I am able to manage my responsibilities at work, my work time, and then I still get my bucket filled, but in a way that's not draining the bucket, drilling a hole in it at the bottom where I'm not getting my work done.
Yeah.
So figuring out that balance of the things that you really like, the things that you don't like, just they're going to knock your bucket over, or they're going to drill holes in the bottom of it and be draining it while you're trying to fill it. Um, find those things that are drilling holes in your bucket and get them out. Get them out of your life, get them out of your responsibilities, and be chasing those things. Like I these enabling science projects. The more every time I find something, that I can apply a technology and help streamline a process or save some money or unlock a new data point for scientists to be able to make decisions, or if I can do a presentation that helps people with this organizational change. I've been spending a ton of time on that with kind of organizational leadership. All those things are really, really making me feel good. And things like project closeout that I feel like I have to do, but I'm terrible at, and all the details and buttoning things up. I have found ways to get the support that I need for the things that I'm really not good at, but it's a vulnerability too. So you've got to be able to say, Tommy, I know there's a 20% of this project left to do, and I can't even begin to make the list of to-dos. I need you to come in here and help me,
Yeah.
close this out.
Yeah. So that self-reflection is also to admit what are my limitations, what I not only what I like or what I don't like to do, but what am I capable of doing?
Right.
And maybe that honesty is really a factor that is so important so that you don't feel this this feeling like, well, I'm gonna let you down, or what did we call it? What did he call it before? Where you're making promises and you really
Yeah,
you're this ability of being honest with yourself, but honest with the people that you're working with too. I think that's the only way, right? And openly
absolutely.
communicating that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm working through that right now, actually. So we're moving towards more self-directed teams and less management. And I think it's a really interesting exercise in kind of the maturity of an organization in R&D. And one of the concepts, and again, I'm trying to learn these things, build the airplane while I'm flying it. But one of the concepts about working in teams is a team agreement up front.
Mm.
So, starting when you're working in a team, even if it's on a school project, and just really getting to know the limitations of and the strengths of each of the players in the team, and then really clearly up front laying out the expectations and the responsibilities of what needs to get done, and then revisiting that, because the list you make up front is going to be very different than 2 weeks into the project once you've started
Sure.
it. So constantly revisiting, what outcomes do we want to drive? Are we doing a lab experiment that's going to have a report at the end? Are we generating field data for a season? What are we trying, what value are we creating, or what kind of output or product are we producing? And then what are the steps that take us to get there? And then who's going to do what by when? So being very specific. So project management is a skill actually that I think maybe we don't, maybe it's different than when I was in school, but just understanding how to draft an agreement up front to say, here's what we're agreeing to do, so that the stakeholders, whether it's your professor or maybe a publication that you're trying to create, knowing up front what you're going to produce, um, and then stepping it out and then saying, okay, I am going to do this experiment over here. I am going to do the RNA profiling or the expression analysis. You're going to go over here and you're going to do the proteomics, and then you are responsible for collecting the UAV data, and processing it and understanding, what's going on in the field. So we all are accountable for exactly what we're going to deliver, and spelling it out up front, it provides clarity, first of all, that everybody knows what's expected. And then when somebody's not pulling their weight, it's easy to go back when you've written it down ahead of time to say, okay, you said you were going to get this UAV data and you were going to process it, and we were going to get stand
Right.
count or
Right.
nitrogen index or whatever that might be.
Yes.
So the data was supposed to be here by
X.
August 1st,
Yeah.
and we still haven't seen it. So what's going on? Well, there was bad weather and it wiped out the entire field. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So now we need to replan. Or, oops, I forgot. I just was busy and I didn't get out
Yeah.
there to collect it. Okay, how can we support you? Can we go out and collect
Yeah.
data with you?
Yeah.
And so like having that up front makes the conversation less hard. That
Yeah.
that it's okay, you said you were going to do this, you had the best intent, and assuming that every person on this planet wants to do a good job and has the best intention, it's an incredibly powerful thing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do a good job. There's not
Yeah.
bad people. There
Yes.
aren't.
I
I
so
believe.
I'm with you. I'm so with you on that. They like everybody's trying to do their best. We're all at fault of our
Right.
errors and our us stumbling over other people's feet and things because we're clumsy. But I think for the most part, everybody that I've worked with, everybody that I've interacted with, everybody's trying their best at doing what they can with what they have. And I'm so in agreement that it's a better perspective in life to think that way than to think, well, here that everybody's here to take advantage of me, you know? And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it will make your day brighter if you can stay on this more positive outlook of how
Mhm.
people are, and maybe even like looking at ourselves in the mirror more often and saying, oh, I might have made mistakes. How can I be better day by day?
Yeah. So Tommy, maybe that's something, I think asking for feedback from
Mm,
people near you, and not just the people that you like. It's really easy to say, "Hey Tommy, how did I show up in that meeting last week?" And you'd be like,
yeah.
"Oh, April, you're amazing. You're always amazing." And
Yeah.
that's great. Um, but I think it's kind of like if you're playing hide and seek with a toy. Let's
Mhm.
say little kids are in kindergarten and we hide the stuffed animal. And if the kids in the group are just saying, "Good job, way to go," you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer. And that one kid that's trying to find the toy, if you don't say, hey, you're getting colder,
Yeah.
why don't why don't you redirect a little bit? Why don't you look over there? Hey, man, you are way off track. Oh,
Mm,
now you're getting better.
mhm.
Feedback is a gift. And we have to be good at receiving negative feedback and
Mhm.
being gracious about it and assuming that good intent so that if and seeking it out so that because people don't want to hurt our feelings. Again, people are good. They have good intentions. They don't
Yes.
want to have conflict. And so but creating a safe space for that I has really helped me grow leaps and bounds. So if I can say after this interview, Tommy, give me 5 things that I could have done better in that interview.
Mhm.
And you'll say, oh, no, April, I adore you. It's fabulous.
Right.
But I really want to improve.
Yeah.
So, and it won't hurt my feelings. Just like if I'm in this room and I'm looking for this toy and Tommy says, you're getting colder. Man, you are way off. It is not anywhere near where you are.
Yeah.
That shouldn't hurt my feelings. It's just a redirection to help me find my goal. And the
Yeah.
same thing with group projects, the same thing with experiments. So
Yeah.
ask people around you, ask your lab mates, ask your professors, ask people in a team setting, and be really specific that that's what you're after. I want you to tell me one thing that really bothers you about our group project that I'm doing. And I am going to assume the best intent because you want to help me get better.
Mm.
And people will be like, oh, no, you're great. And just enforce the issue and be quiet and make them tell you something that you can improve. And you're going to find that once you make that space safe, then you get more and more of it and it becomes more and more constructive and
Yeah.
more natural and more in the moment where Tommy can say, April, shut up. You're talking too much. I've got 15 questions I got to get through. Be like, oh, okay, cool. What's the next one?
Yeah. Wow. I think maybe for the first time we've heard that come up in the show. And it is so important, I think, for all of us to really be receptive and be able to also give it in a way that is receptive, in a way that is not insulting, in a way that it might just be, matter of fact.
Yeah.
If I can do better, please let me know. And we are not always ready to receive the comments that come back because we think, oh, I must have done a great job there. Everybody enjoyed, or everybody agreed, or everybody was satisfied with. But we all have every day, every way, every bucket needs to be filled. We can ask this question of how can I be a better son? How can I be a better brother or
Oh,
sister?
that's
How can I
brilliant.
be a better, worker? How can I be a better citizen, a better neighbor, a better there's so many buckets that in our life we can fill. And that is such a, it opens you up to deeper relationships with people, because when, as you said, when you open up that safe space where they can start speaking from the heart and tell you, hey, I am bothered that you're always mowing your lawn when we're having dinner or having
Yeah,
lunch, or
yeah,
whatever it might be, like things.
absolutely.
And it's nothing that, that person does maybe on purpose to make your life terrible
Hmm.
or to go and ruin something good or whatever it might be. But I think
Yeah.
it's so important what you said, April, that if we are interested in becoming better, we must know how we are perceived, because we only have our perspective. Unless you sit there and you sit down and you think about somebody else and consider their point of view, your perspective is still from your eyes out into the world, and that's it.
I love that. I didn't even think about that in other realms, Tommy, but I can't wait to go tell my therapist about this
Yeah.
tomorrow. Maybe just something that you said though that I think it was so spot on when you think about giving and receiving feedback, and this is a topic that I've been studying a lot and trying to work through how to coach people on this. There's a really simple formula that you can use, and it's easier in your professional life, but it also works in your marriage and with your children,
Mhm.
is to have an observation, something concrete, followed by a feeling. So, Tommy, I observed you mowing your lawn yesterday at 6 o'clock and the previous week every Friday at 6 p.m. It made my family dinner a little bit awkward. I wasn't able to have a good conversation with my son. Do you think maybe there's something you could do to mow either at 5 or at 7? And Tommy would say, "Oh gosh, sure. I'll just mow on Saturday, no problem."
Yeah. Yeah.
So an observation followed by a feeling or an impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
This happened, and we agree on that this happened, and
Yeah.
just be as concrete and factual as you can, and then just say how it impacted you, and
Yeah.
that's not ever something that should hurt somebody's feelings. Just it kind of takes the blame and the pointing out of it. So
So wonderful to talk to you, April. It's
to
great to catch up, and I think you're so full of wisdom. And
oh
you said, "Oh, there's always a piece of imposter syndrome." I think imposter syndrome, as long as we're honest, imposter syndrome goes away. There is no imposter syndrome if you are able to talk from experience, if you're able to be honest about how you feel, how you can move ahead, and maybe even like succeed because you're doing a good job and you're like noticing that, okay, I'm making changes that at least allow me to progress and do a better job every day.
and celebrate those,
Yeah.
every little win.
Yeah, totally. My
Mm.
goodness. April, Agee, Carroll, the
Oh,
pipeline
Tommy.
analytics and digital strategy lead for Bayer. Thank you so much for being
Mm.
our Pathfinder today.
Oh,
It's
Tommy.
so awesome catching up with you and getting your words of wisdom. It was great, great conversation, and I thank you for taking time to tell us all about it.
You're so welcome. I appreciate all of you as well and your attention. So thanks again. Keep in touch, please.
Will do so. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us once again, and remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.